Welcome back. Special counsel Robert Mueller indicting 12 Russian intelligence officers, accusing them of hacking the DNC and the Clinton campaign in order to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. This as President Trump is gearing up to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin tomorrow in Helsinki. Joining me right now to talk about all of the above, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes. Mr. Chairman, it's always a pleasure to see you.
It's great to be here live. I'm not coming from California.
I know. I'm happy.
So different.
It's great that you're on set, so thank you very much. These Russian indictments, we could have known about them earlier this year when you actually came out with your report back in March, and then the findings released to the public at the end of April. I've got the report right in front of me. Your reaction to these indictments?
Well, we knew about this a year and a half ago. Almost everything in the indictment we knew about. In March 22nd, we released our findings that you have in front of you right there. Those findings were available March 22nd. If you remember, the media mocked us.
Yes, I do remember.
They made fun of the Republicans. They said it was a whitewash. The Democrats said it was a whitewash. Nearly everything the Democrats said about our report was that it was a whitewash. Then we had to fight with the intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice so that they would not redact and they would declassify our report. That was finished in April. So this entire report that you have in front of you, including all you had to do was get to page 4, and you only had to read chapter 2, and you would have had nearly everything that's in the indictment.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Look at all these redactions that you can actually see on the screen.
And it's page after page of that. And actually, there's more in this report than what's in the indictment. Okay? And this is what's very frustrating. So it's great that they indicted Russians. Yes, they did bad things. I mean, they're always up to bad things. We know that. They have very sophisticated intelligence capabilities in Russia. And they're constantly attacking the United States and our allies. However, in the indictment, they leave out some really important people that they also went after. So the indictment plays like they're only going after the Democrats, when Bob Mueller and all his investigators and his lawyers know for a fact that they also targeted Republicans. Why is that not in the indictment? It makes the indictment look ridiculous.
Okay. So
I'm not saying they shouldn't be indicted.
The
I'm
Russians
just saying that
were targeting both Democrats and Republicans.
And Republicans.
Yeah.
And they know that. It's in our report. So why doesn't the Department of Justice allow this to be declassified so the American public can see this?
The other thing is that these people are never going to see justice, right? I mean, we don't have jurisdiction over these people. They're not going to come to the U.S., and so they really won't actually be held accountable. Right.
They're intelligence officers, so they're not going to be held accountable. It doesn't mean, though, that we shouldn't call out Russia for attacking conducting cyber attacks on our systems.
But the timing of this, I mean, they released this right after the Peter Strzok hearing, and your point is we knew all of this a year ago. Why is now the time to make these arrests and not a year ago when you actually had the information?
Well, I have to call into question. You knew about this a year and a half ago. You for sure knew it because you got our report, so you for sure knew it by March and April of this year. And then it looks like all the Mueller team did was validate our report, indict some Russians, and leave out, I think, some very pertinent relative of evidence that the American public should see, which is, why we continue to have to fight. This report has been mocked by the media, has been mocked by the Democrats, and still is mostly redacted by the Department of Justice and the intelligence agencies.
And all of these redactions really underline a common theme, and that has been obstruction on the left. You look at that Peter Strzok hearing last week, and there was so much obstruction on the Democrats. They were trying to change the subject. They were trying to stop the questioning of what went on during the 2016 election. So how are you going to get to the information when you see you're in a catch-22 situation? Because every time you want to know why the Trump collusion investigation launched in the first place. But when you ask that question of Peter Strzok or anybody else in the FBI, they're going to say, we can't talk about it because it's an active investigation, and it is by the special counsel.
Yeah, so there's a couple of points I think that are important. So we have before July 31st of 2016, we have asked the Department of Justice for months and months and months. I've said on your show, did you run informants? How many informants did you have before the investigation was even open? How much did you pay these informants to run into Trump campaign or officials or associates? Because the Department of Justice is trying to say, and the FBI, that they didn't do anything until after July 31st. So we're still waiting on that information. I think that is really important information the American people should know. The second biggest problem we have is that the President of the United States has got to declassify this. Why was, if the President of the United States would have declassified this, if you go through page after page after page of this, okay, the Mueller indictment would look ridiculous today if this was unredacted and declassified.
Well, you know what? Because there is a big portion of the country that will say, oh, he's trying to get in the middle of an investigation, which is why I asked the president 2 weeks ago when I sat down with him in that exclusive interview with President Trump whether or not he's going to declassify these documents. Listen to this. Why don't you just direct your subordinates to get those documents over to Congress? Are you going to do it?
The one thing I want to stay uninvolved in, at least for now, I may get involved. Okay. But I've been told by so many people, don't get involved. You know,
Congress
other people got involved, and it's not good. And they'll get the documents, and they're getting them.
Meanwhile, there's an op-ed in this weekend's Wall Street Journal, and the title is After the Strzok Stonewall, basically saying we're obviously not going to get to the truth through the legal process. The president has got to declassify. Do you think he'll do it?
Well, I think he has to, and I think this is a great example of it. It's not just about Strzok. It's not just about the FISA. Now you have information in our report here that he should have already declassified. And I think then the American people, would have known. I mean, we basically wrote the indictment for Mueller. I mean, the House Republicans, without the support of the Democrats, wrote the indictment for the Mueller special counsel, essentially.